Blake Bos here, folks. Today we're going to be doing Ask a Fool. This is where I answer your great questions you posted to us on the internet. And today we're going to be looking at a question from Kevin. He has a question about 3D printing. He's asking, which 3D printing company do you see having explosive gains compared to Xerox and their 2D printing machines of the last few decades? Well, Kevin, that's a really big picture question. If I had to have a simple answer for it, I'd basically just say I have no idea. You know, it's hard to speculate when that will happen. I'd have to have a crystal ball. But I think your question does lead itself to some great insight into the 3D printing industry. And so I wanted to kind of explain how it works a little bit. So 3D printing is a lot different than two-dimensional printing like we saw with inkjet printers. The assumption that they'll grow as fast in a certain time period could lead investors astray. I think 2D printing has inkjet, dot matrix, and laser technologies, and the utility usefulness of that printing technology was wonderful because paper was used more in the past. So the addressable market when these 2D printers came out was a huge success because almost every human being could find a daily use for a 2D printer in their everyday lives. Conversely, with 3D printing today, it still has a long ways to go to be useful and convenient for the average Joe at home. And it's hard to tell which technology within 3D printing will grow the fastest and have as big of an addressable market as 2D printing did back when Xerox was making its gains. So with 3D printing, and when I talk about those technologies and all the different technologies in 3D printing, to list these out, basically, there's a few here. There's material extrusion, powder bed fusion, binder jetting, material jetting, vat photopolymerization, sheet lamination, directed energy disposition, and bioprinting. So as you can tell, there's a ton of different technologies here within 3D printing, and each technology has particular methods within that technology with its own specialized application. So very complex industry, a lot of moving parts here, folks. So the takeaway here is basically it's incredibly difficult to say which technology within 3D printing will have the largest addressable market in the future, and if certain technology will vanish like the dot matrix printers of old for 2D printing. If I were to invest in 3D printing though, I'd first dollar cost average in over a long period of time. First and foremost, when you have a high valued sector in the stock market, it's always a good idea to dollar cost average in. Second, I'd pick the companies I like based on the technology they're using in their products. In this case, I'm watching a few companies the closest. One, Arcam. I really like their electron beam melting technology. I think over the very long term, that technology has specific advantages over laser sintering. And two, I'm looking at 3D systems. I like how they're exposed to a variety of different technologies. They're a vertically integrated company. They do everything from 3D scanning to laser sintering to material extrusion. I'm also a fan of the management team at X1 and their niche market. They're really going after foundries and printing out those sand castings with their binder jetting technology. I think that could be a very lucrative market. But still, what keeps me out of 3D printing today personally is the valuations in the marketplace. So I think if investors want to get exposed to 3D printing at today's prices, again, focus on that dollar cost averaging, invest over time. That way you're not going to make big mistakes at a particular period in time and try to spread your investments out over a few different companies. That's all I have for you today on 3D printing, folks. But if you'd like some more stock picks, you can email us at retirerich@fool.com. We'll email you 3 great stock picks to help you save for retirement. That's all I have for you today, folks. Thanks for watching, and Fool on.